Trojan Sports Now.
Hey, Trojan fans, it's time to hit the field because football season is just around the corner.
And we'll get you ready for the 2013 Troy Trojans football season right here on the Trojan Sports Now Football Preview Show. Well, last season the Trojans finished under 500 for the second straight year, and they were one win away from being bowl eligible, but a last-second loss to Middle Tennessee just put an end to that hope. But hopefully 2013 is going to be a fresh start and a better season.
Well, I agree with you. And one thing you mentioned was a close loss. There was a lot of those last year. Lost 30-24 to Mississippi State, 31-26 to Western Kentucky, so on and so forth all season long. There was 5 close losses, and a team that went 5-7. That's a completely different season. A bowl game, a conference championship, things like that. So for a team that just a couple of years ago was coming off a 5th straight championship, is now coming off 2 straight losing seasons. So which Troy team will we see this year? That's the big question.
When you mentioned the really close losses, and it was also a couple of big plays, and it would have been a completely different season. I know we heard a lot about that from the defensive players, saying that if it had just been one more stop or one less completion for a touchdown, that it could have been a completely different season.
Exactly, and same thing on the offensive side of the ball. One less turnover or changing a field goal into a touchdown, things like that can turn around a season. So, enough from us. Let's hear from the man in charge.
I can't tell you what a great attitude all of our people have about working toward trying to furnish wins on Saturday with this football program. And so as far as the team, the personnel in general, I think we're bigger, I think we're faster, and we're more talented probably than we've been in a while. Now, whether that computes into what we really want to do, and that's win games, is yet to be seen. And I do think we're headed in the right direction. The key, I think, to finding success is depth across the board, establishing depth on defense, defensive front, linebacker, and in the secondary where there's a lot of candidates. And finding the right combinations and enough depth up front on offense.
Well, defense may win championships, but a high-scoring offensive performance certainly can be entertaining. The Trojans gave an offensive showcase last season, but the best may still be yet to come. With the loss of several senior running backs and offensive linemen, you might think the Trojan offense would be taking a step back. But offensive coordinator Kenny Edenfield has a different opinion.
This has probably been my funnest bunch to work with offensively. We're young in some spots. We're a little banged up in some spots right now, but we have a great group of guys right now, and I'm anxious to see what they can do. And I guess it all starts at the quarterback position, and there's not many people in the country that have 2 like we've got. We've got 2 guys that we trust right now to play at any time, and we're going to play them both.
But it takes more than just a quarterback. You also need receivers.
We've got a chance to be as good at wide out up front the first 4 as we've been.
We got 2 and 3 guys at every position, and I mean, we got speed, and it's boys that can run route. We're not young anymore.
The Trojans might run a pass-heavy offense, but wideouts aren't the only offensive weapon Troy will be putting on the field.
At the running back spot, the thing that's been encouraging is all our young backs are pushing our older backs, and there's a lot of competition. They're really good in the meeting room, helping each other out. The older guys are helping the young guys out, and that's going to benefit us in the long run.
In order for any offense to be successful, you've got to have players up front on the line.
Terrence Jones is the guy that's been there the most there, and he's really kind of leading that group. And then there's 5 or 6 guys that have stepped up and put themselves in position to play.
Chemistry's going pretty good. It's going a lot faster and better than what I expected.
One position that doesn't receive much spotlight is tight ends. But the Trojans return 2 players in that spot that will be key in this offense.
We're really unselfish players. I'd like to think that way at least. I wouldn't mind catching the ball every once in a while.
Everybody talks about we don't use a tight end, but if you saw today, we use those guys a lot. We used them in our 3-back set that we've been working on, our 2-back set, and attached tight end. They have really come on this fall, and I think they're going to give us some weapons and some different things we're going to be able to do with them.
Last season, Troy finished 11th in the country in total offense, averaging just under 500 yards per game. So what can you expect from the Trojans this season?
I feel like we can be the best in the country if we put our minds to it and just keep working and keep getting better as a team.
We never played a perfect game last year. And as long as we can continue to cut out the mental mistakes and, just the small errors that we had, it'll be even better than it was last year.
I don't know where it'll end up as far as how many yards and all that. The bottom line is we want to win all our games. That's the key. We ain't worried about yardage this year. We want to win all our games.
If you watch the Trojans, you saw it last season, and it looks like you'll be seeing it again. Robinson and Anthony, Corey and Dion, the two-headed monster at quarterback. In 2012, it was almost by accident that the Trojans saw just what a weapon Dion Anthony was on the field. After quarterback Corey Robinson was injured in the Western Kentucky game, Anthony was forced to step up. And now, the two-headed monster is looking to rear its head again this season.
Both quarterbacks will play. I think, Corey, everybody in the world knows what he can do. He can spin it with the best of them. Dion brings that other dynamic to the table.
And I wish we could play them both 80 plays, but there's only one quarterback spot. So we're going to play Corey at receiver a bunch. That's a joke. No. We are going to mix them up a little bit.
You may not see Robinson at receiver, but Anthony is another story. In fact, that's where he's seen most of his time in fall camp.
I think playing receiver this whole camp up to this point has helped him. We've only put him at quarterback a little bit just so he could get that conditioning in.
Now that we're implementing Dion into that receiver slot, we can even add a few other wrinkles to the mix. We would like him to be on the field, probably early 40 to 50 snaps, and as the season goes on, 50 to 60 snaps a game.
But does seeing your quarterback playing wideout make you a little nervous as a coach?
To be honest, no. I'm excited because he's that type of dynamic athlete. You want those guys on the field, and he's a playmaker.
It's kind of tough. I'm used to playing quarterback and not running around as much. So, from the physical standpoint, it's kind of tiring out there sometimes, but I just fight through it because I know the team will need me down the line, So I'm doing anything I can to help the team.
Having two athletes at quarterback who offer different styles gives the Trojans an advantage against defenses.
We got two leaders coming back, both great quarterbacks, With both those guys in, you never know what we're going to do.
It's also hard for defenses to prepare for us when you got a guy that comes in like that and you can run a completely different offense than what we run when I'm in. So Dion is a great player, and all he does is help us out.
With the two-headed monster and both guys vying for the same spot, you might think the little green monster jealousy would cause an issue. But Edenfield says, not with these two.
They are teammates through and through. They pull for each other. They want each other to do well. They know it's going to take both of them, and we're going to try to use both of them as much as we can. The hard part about that is if Dion's playing other positions, he's running, he's a little tired. It ain't like just running out there and playing quarterback. So I've got to learn how to manage that. He's got to learn how to manage that.
Well, moving behind the quarterback or beside the quarterback, whichever way you look at it, Troy is losing 1,574 yards and 328 carries from last year's team. So some new guys are going to have to step in and fill the void left by Sean Southward, Justin Albert, and DJ Taylor.
Well, and those new guys, they're not necessarily new guys. Some of those guys are veterans that are coming back. It'll be, of course, Brandon Burks didn't see all that much time at the running back position, but did kind of get into that offensive playbook and at least learn the system a little bit last year. I know saw some time in special teams, but at least did kind of get that tempo of what the game is like. Of course, moving from high school to college, it's a very different game, but Brandon Burks isn't going to be the only back that the Trojans will be implementing.
Yeah, there's going to be Kari Franklin, who has been here a few years. Fans are probably familiar with him. Short in stature, but he can run. He is fast. He is back, moved from wide receiver back to running back. There's also some freshmen we're going to look at. Jordan Shun, Josh Anderson, a bigger fullback kind of guy, and then Jared Lee, who played some fullback last year, or H-back in Troy's offense, who's going to be a big body back there for the Trojans. But really look for Brandon Burks, especially if you were at the scrimmage the other day and got to see him play. He's a guy to look out for. But no matter who is toting the ball, the coaches are just looking for someone who can make some plays.
One thing I've seen today, I saw out of him that I had not seen, is he broke a lot of long runs. And that's really what makes a running back special, okay? There's going to be a little bit of a hole. There's going to be somebody there, and you've got to make one guy miss, run over one guy, break one tackle. And when you got guys that can do that, which he showed today, it makes us a lot more powerful on offense.
Well, Jonathan, as offensive coordinator Kenny Edenfield mentioned, the Trojans have a large portion of their receivers coming back to take the field again in 2013. But, of course, the most noticeable loss is going to be Chip Reeves, who finished in the top 30 in the nation last season, averaging 87.5 receiving yards per game. And he was certainly a playmaker, but the Trojans do still have a lot of guys coming back in that position.
And he was the playmaker with getting all the big plays, but I would say the real playmaker of that offense last year is Eric Thomas. The guy can just catch the ball no matter where you throw it to him. He is just unbelievable. Also, a guy coming back is Chandler Worthy, who, he's like a Chip Reeves, can take the ball downfield, but also can come across the middle, make a play. And just some other guys coming back. Brian Holmes is going to take that Chip Reeves speed guy going down the field position, and some transfers they're looking to bring in. A guy named Wilson Van Hooser out of Tulane, who's originally from Montgomery, is a guy who can step in and fill a role that's experienced. He's a senior. So a lot of guys that can come in and make plays, but the guy to watch out for, I think, is going to be Eric Thomas.
Absolutely, and all very athletic players. Of course, you know, Eric Thomas, you see him all the time making those one-handed grabs, those very athletic plays that are certainly exciting and entertaining, but are very athletic and almost acrobatic at times as well. And but also B.J. Chitty going to be another guy that's going to be coming in who is a junior in the system, so been in there and has those reps, just looking to kind of get a lot of guys in there with a lot of time. Also, Deion Anthony, of course, we mentioned earlier, has been taking snaps in the receiver position as well. So going to be lots of guys that are going to be rotating in and out of that position. But with so many options in the receiver slot, will greed become an issue this season?
I see friendship more than anything, you know, guys helping each other, trying to help them learn the plays, learn what to do, and above all, if we keep that attitude through the entire season, nobody gets jealous, then there's nowhere to go but higher.
All our receivers, you know, you can't cover one guy out there one-on-one, so you're going to have to double team all of us. You know, one guy can't just get covered one-on-one because we're going to hit you on the long one, or we can hit you underneath and just take it for a long touchdown.
Offensive line has been a strong point the past few years for Troy, but the offensive line coach has moved on as well as some key players. So that's going to be something to watch out for this year. As Coach John Schlarman moved on to Kentucky, a new guy's coming in, a new guy that could be considered an old guy because he's been around here before. That's Coach Jim Dye. Absolutely, and you mentioned those players that are leaving, of course. Probably most notably, Kyle Wilburn was a guy who had been in the system for so long and had been really a stature and a big key player on that line. I think he was at center last season, but he had kind of moved around. Absolutely, he was one of those guys that was just a utility guy on the line, was able to come in wherever they needed him. And it's going to be really hard to replace somebody like that, but I know they do have a lot of guys that have really been stepping up. It's going to be a young line, but because of that, there's a lot of competition with guys vying for playing time. Exactly, and a lot of new names, but with offensive linemen, that's kind of a good thing. Guys that you don't really have to worry about out there, that can just go out there and play their position and do well. But Coach Jim Dye, he's been here before, as I said, coached at Troy for 10 seasons, coached linebackers, offensive line, which he's doing now, and tight ends. So he's done a little bit of it all. But the guys he's going to be coaching this year, it looks like our starters are going to be Terrence Jones, who's been around, Jimmy Arnold, who has also played a lot, Dalton Bennett, who's been around. But some new guys, Tommy Stevens was a defensive lineman before, now it's on the offensive line, so we'll have to see how he does. And then a younger guy, and a guy named Antonio Garcia. Those we think may be the starting five, and the coaches may have an idea who the starting five in the trenches will become August 31st. But now it's about finding some depth and seeing who can step up and fill in when needed.
We can ever get to where we're too deep or we've got 3 tackles, 3 guards, 2 centers. If we can get to where we can build some depth, then we can play fast. How does that help us? Okay, it keeps us simple offensively, and it also gives our guys an opportunity to get the defense tired because we practice like that all the time.
I think we can find 5 guys, but we, like Kenny said, we need a lot more than 5. We need at least 3 rotating at the tackle and guard, and we need a couple of centers, and because we play so fast that, you know, we're human too on offense. You know, they get tired also.
We've previewed the offense, but there are more questions involving the Trojan defense, which we'll take a look at after the break.
But first, let's take a look at what the players have in mind as their goals for the upcoming season.
Wins, man. Just wins. That's all I'm looking to, man. We just got to start off with UAB and get the win and move on after that.
Just to make the big plays. I just want to make big plays. Plays that I haven't made in the past, I have to make those plays this year.
Bowl game. Sun Belt champs, all the above.
I'm trying to get 2,000 all-purpose yards and at least 1,000 receiving yards. I mean, got to shoot high. Strive for number 1, be the best in the country.
I want to win a bowl game and win conference. And that's really about it, and everything else just fall into place.
I just want to be as consistent as possible. You know, obviously I want my punting average over 40 yards, and I want to be perfect on all my field goals and extra points, and, you know, drive every kickoff out the back of the end zone. But, you know, I guess that's a good goal to have.
Win a bowl game and be a conference champ.
You know, my personal goal is to make sure that we stop the run every last game.
Lead my team to championship, bowl game, and become the best defense Troy's had out here in years.
My personal goal is to win a championship. That's something I've never done. That's something I want. I never had a ring in my life, and I want one really bad.
I'll play 100%. You know, march my team down the field when they need me.
Well, yeah, just winning the bowl game, actually, and staying healthy.
Get back to a bowl game. I got there my freshman year. It was fun, but I honestly feel like I really didn't contribute enough to really have that memory of it as like we actually won, even though we won it. But, I mean, I just want to get back to a bowl game.
Trojan Sports Now.